Is there a way out? I used to always ask this, is there a way out? I'm gonna die, take another rebirth, and again, same school jana, same वही सब चीज़ें, same society के do's and don'ts. If I become a woman again, तो और भी problem है. And I was like, नहीं नहीं.
20 years ago, Bollywood lost one of its brightest stars. This icon traded fame for a life of peace and simplicity, leaving many to wonder why someone at the peak of their career would leave it all behind. But guess what? Her life today will amaze you. Join us as we unravel the incredible story of a celebrity-turned-monk. Life before the monastery. Born into a Punjabi family, Barka Marden's journey is one of determination, versatility, and strategic choices. Her first major moment in the spotlight came in 1994 when she stepped into the glamorous and highly competitive world of beauty pageants.
That year's Femina Miss India competition was particularly significant, as it showcased some of the most iconic names in Indian entertainment, including Sushmita Sen and Aishwarya Rai, who would go on to claim their titles on the global stage. Alongside these legendary figures, the pageant featured other noteworthy contestants such as Priya Gill, Swetha Menon, Jessie Randhawa, and Manini Dey. In a year marked by immense talent and charm, Barka distinguished herself, earning the coveted title of Miss Tourism India. This accolade paved the way for her participation in the inaugural Miss Tourism International pageant, where she impressed audiences and judges alike. Competing among other accomplished representatives, she achieved the third runner-up position. Sharing the limelight was Malaysian actress and model Emilia Abdul Hamid, who secured the runner-up spot, making the event even more memorable. With the pageant world behind her, Barka transitioned smoothly into acting, bringing her poise and charisma to the silver screen. She made her debut in Bollywood in 1996 with Khiladiyon Ka Khiladi, a high-octane action film starring Akshay Kumar and veteran actress Rekha. Despite being a newcomer in a star-studded movie, Barka's performance made a mark, drawing attention to her on-screen presence and natural talent. The film's success opened up a flood of opportunities for her, as directors and producers were quick to recognize her potential. However, rather than rushing into the whirlwind of Bollywood fame, Barka chose a measured and thoughtful path, carefully selecting roles that resonated with her creative instincts. Venturing beyond the conventional boundaries of Indian cinema, she took a bold step into international projects. Her entrance into foreign films began with the Indo-Dutch production Driving Miss Palmen, where she showcased her ability to adapt to diverse narratives and cultures. This global exposure highlighted her versatility as an actress, proving her willingness to experiment and expand her craft beyond familiar territories.
Barka's career trajectory saw a major turning point in 2003 when she appeared in Ram Gopal Varma's critically acclaimed horror film, Boot. Known for its gripping storyline and atmospheric tension, the film struck a chord with audiences and critics alike, becoming a box office hit.
Barka's portrayal of a haunting ghost in the film was chilling and unforgettable, capturing the audience's imagination and earning her widespread praise for her performance. This role not only solidified her position as a talented actress, but also demonstrated her ability to leave a lasting impression, even in challenging roles. While her acting career flourished, Barka's passion for storytelling led her to explore opportunities behind the camera. With a vision to uplift independent filmmakers and promote creative talent, she founded Golden Gate LLC, a production and distribution company. This entrepreneurial endeavor reflected her commitment to the film industry's evolving landscape and her desire to support narratives that might otherwise struggle for recognition. Under her leadership, Golden Gate LLC produced two critically acclaimed films, Sauk Lo and Surkab, both of which featured Barka in lead roles. In addition to her work in films, Barka's talent and dedication found an equally strong platform in television, where she became a familiar and admired face. Over the course of her career, she showcased her acting skills in approximately 20 television shows, earning recognition for her diverse portrayals across genres.
Barka Marden's journey is a remarkable blend of ambition, perseverance, and creativity. From beauty pageants to Bollywood blockbusters, international films, and entrepreneurial ventures, she consistently demonstrated the courage to make bold decisions and embrace challenges.
Her choice to remain selective in her work highlights her commitment to quality over quantity. while her ventures as a producer reflect her deep-seated belief in the importance of supporting unique voices in cinema. Whether on screen or behind the scenes, Barca continues to inspire with her ability to reinvent herself and explore new horizons. And then suddenly, everything changes. Becoming a monk. In November 2012, Barca Madan made a life-changing decision to embrace the path of a Buddhist nun, a choice that profoundly altered the course of her life. She had long been drawn to the spiritual teachings of Buddhism, deeply moved by the ideologies that emphasized compassion, mindfulness, and inner peace. Being a dedicated follower of the Dalai Lama, she found immense inspiration in his teachings, which led her to seek a deeper connection to the spiritual world. Barca's decision wasn't made in haste. After much reflection, she set her mind firmly on her new spiritual journey. Her dedication was evident when she received her ordination at the Sarajay Monastery on November 4, 2012. Under the guidance and supervision of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, a revered Tibetan Buddhist Lama, Barca Madan embarked on this transformative path. The day she received her ordination, she described it as the most significant and right decision she had ever made in her life, a moment that brought a deep sense of fulfillment and peace that she had not experienced before.
At the time, Barca's announcement of her departure from the glitzy world of acting in the Hindi film industry shocked many. She had built a promising career in Bollywood, known for her remarkable acting skills that had gathered attention from both audiences and critics.
Yet, despite receiving a multitude of offers to return to acting, she chose instead to leave behind the glamour of the film world. This bold decision was met with surprise, as few could understand why a woman on the brink of stardom would choose to abandon it all for a life of solitude and spiritual discipline. Guided by Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Barca took her monastic vows at the Hardong Kangtsen of Sarajay Monastery, located in the serene state of Karnataka, India. As part of her new life, she also adopted a new name, Ven Gyalten Samten, symbolizing her commitment to a life of contemplation, service, and spiritual growth. The change in her identity was not just external, but reflected her deep internal transformation as she left behind her old persona to embrace a new, more peaceful way of being. Remarkably, Barca's decision to become a Buddhist nun was met with full support from her family.
In a past interview, she shared that her parents, despite the stark contrast to her previous career in the entertainment industry, were completely supportive of her choice. They understood the depth of her spiritual calling and encouraged her to follow the path that brought her the most peace, demonstrating their own deep respect for her inner journey.
Today, Barca, now Ven Gyalten Samten, leads a quiet and peaceful life at the Sarajay Monastery in Tibet, a place renowned for its tranquil atmosphere and focus on meditation and Buddhist studies. Her life, once filled with the bright lights of the film industry, is now characterized by simplicity, contemplation, and a sense of purpose far removed from the distractions of her former life. Occasionally, she shares glimpses of her monastic life through pictures and videos, offering a rare window into the serenity she has found in her new surroundings. Barca's remarkable transformation from a rising star in the bustling Hindi film industry to a Buddhist nun living a contemplative life in Tibet has captured the imagination of many. Her journey serves as a powerful reminder of the profound impact that spiritual awakening can have on a person's life. By following her heart and embracing a path of mindfulness and peace, Barca has created a life that is both deeply meaningful and truly inspiring. But first, what inspired her to take on this journey? Discovering purpose. The journey to discover the essence of self is rarely straightforward. It begins with a seed of curiosity, a nagging question that refuses to be silenced. Who am I? For Barca Madan, this query became a compass, guiding her through the labyrinth of existence. The need to unravel this mystery transformed her into an explorer, not of physical landscapes, but of the spiritual terrain within. It led her to renounce the glamour and chaos of a worldly life and embrace the quiet, disciplined path of a Buddhist nun. In the burst of modern aspirations, where success is often measured by material possessions and brief accolades, she began questioning the essence of purpose. What lay beyond the superficial chase for wealth, recognition, and the fulfillment of societal expectations? These were not idle contemplations. They became the cornerstone of her spiritual inquiry. Her search wasn't born out of dissatisfaction, but a profound yearning for truth. an enduring desire to understand what it meant to be human in the truest sense. In her younger years, freedom seemed like the ability to live life on her own terms. Growing up in a patriarchal society, the idea of personal autonomy was a radical aspiration for a teenage girl. Cultural and social norms dictated countless restrictions, but Barca refused to internalize these limitations. She did not see herself as less capable or less deserving than her brother. To her, the notion of gender inequality was an external imposition, devoid of logic or fairness. This clarity of thought, a quiet rebellion against societal constructs, laid the foundation for her eventual transformation.
Freedom, as she once imagined it, was about independence, doing what she wanted without interference. But as time passed, she began to perceive a deeper dimension to liberation. Was freedom merely about choice, or was it the ability to transcend the inner chains of desire, ego, and fear?
These questions echoed in her mind, demanding answers that no material achievement could provide. Her exploration of spirituality wasn't an escape, but a homecoming. To her, a spiritual life wasn't about becoming someone different or reaching some mystical destination. It was about embracing the fullness of being human, a life rooted in simplicity, compassion, and ethical living. She believed that human nature at its core was kind and loving, though often obscured by confusion and suffering. Spiritual discipline, she realized, wasn't about denying oneself or renouncing the world. Instead, it was a path of recognition, a way to awaken the goodness that lay dormant within. The starting point, she discovered, was suffering. Recognizing and accepting suffering was not a surrender but a doorway to transformation. For Barca, suffering wasn't an abstract concept but a deeply personal experience. It was this recognition that inspired her to walk the spiritual path, a journey inward, toward clarity and liberation. Two figures profoundly influenced her journey. The first was His Holiness the Dalai Lama. To stand in his presence, she recalled, was to feel the weight of suffering dissolve into an overwhelming sense of peace. His simplicity and warmth were disarming, his mere smile capable of moving her to tears. One memory stood out vividly. She watched as he greeted an elderly Tibetan woman with unparalleled kindness. Here was a man who had lost his homeland, his people scattered in exile, yet his spirit radiated hope and courage. His resilience and distinct compassion were a beacon illuminating the path that lay before her. The second influence was Mother Teresa. Barca admired the saint's embodiment of selfless love, a love that transcended personal ambition and ego. To witness such a life of giving was to understand the transformative power of compassion. Both figures, though rooted in different traditions, exemplified the boundless potential of the human spirit when aligned with higher ideals. Barca's transformation into a Buddhist nun was not a sudden leap, but a gradual unfolding. Each step on the path stripped away the illusions of identity she had once clung to. The process was not without its challenges, but she embraced them with humility and grace. She began to see spirituality not as an escape from the world, but as a deeper engagement with its truths. It was about finding stillness in chaos, clarity in confusion, and compassion in adversity. Her life as a nun became an embodiment of simplicity. Material possessions and societal accolades no longer held sway over her. Instead, she found fulfillment in the present moment, in acts of kindness, and in the silent reflections of life's mysteries. The spiritual path, she realized, wasn't about becoming someone new, but rediscovering the goodness that had always been there. It was a journey of coming home to oneself.
Through her practice, she discovered that freedom wasn't about doing what she wanted, but about breaking free from the inner chains of attachment and aversion. True freedom, she realized, was a state of mind, a liberation from the constant grasping and clinging that defined ordinary existence.
Her journey wasn't about renouncing the world, but about embracing it fully. She came to see the interconnectedness of all beings, the shared struggles and joys that bind humanity together. Compassion, she learned, was not a lofty idea, but a natural expression of this interconnectedness. To live a spiritual life is to live with awareness, to see the sacred in the mundane, and to act with kindness and integrity in every moment. It is a freedom that comes from within, untouched by external circumstances. It is a product of the power of questioning, of seeking, and of embracing the unknown. Barca's story is a reminder that the spiritual path is not a destination but a journey, a continuous unfolding of understanding and growth. It is a path open to all, regardless of background or circumstance. Her life as a nun is not a rejection of her past, but an integration of its lessons. Barca's journey is a call to look within, to ask the questions that truly matter, and to have the courage to walk the path that answers reveal. It is a story of evolution, not through grand gestures, but through perseverance and an unrelenting commitment to truth. In her search for meaning, she found not only herself but a way of being that transcends the ordinary. However, it wasn't an easy process. Finding true freedom. Barca Maaden's journey began in the sparkling corridors of Bollywood, a world brimming with glamour, ambition, and restless energy. For her, the allure of this industry was never a pursuit born of burning dreams, but an unexpected chapter that unfolded almost as if by chance. College life offered her the first brush with modeling, an entryway into the world of cameras, lights, and magazine covers. Money came quickly, a tempting promise of independence and freedom. It seemed for a while that financial self-sufficiency was the key to liberation. After all, society has often echoed a familiar sentiment. Those who live under a roof must abide by its rules. The desire to live by her own terms led Barca to Bombay, the city of dreams, a place where people came in search of fame, fortune, and freedom. Though the profession found her more than she found it, there was something intoxicating about the experience. The instant visibility, the rush of the spotlight, and the tangible independence that the paychecks afforded. But beneath that sheen, a certain restlessness lingered. She never sought stardom for its own sake. Acting and modeling were, at best, mediums to explore herself, to create something interesting, and to break free from the confines of convention. Yet, within this frame of fame, cracks began to form. The industry's treatment of women weighed on her consciousness, a heaviness she could neither overlook nor ignore. The stark realities of unequal pay, superficial expectations, and objectification were impossible to reconcile with her own principles. There was no escaping the unspoken rules of Bollywood.
It was a place where the worth of women often seemed confined to their beauty, where roles celebrated them as glamorous dolls rather than multifaceted characters with depth and purpose. It made her anxious, sparking questions that refused to quiet down. What am I doing here? Why should I compromise on my value system to fit into someone else's mold?
In the midst of it all, there remained parts of the craft she loved deeply. Acting in its purest form was a challenge she embraced with curiosity. With no formal training, she threw herself into understanding characters, dissecting scripts, and learning the subtlety of emotions. It was an art she respected, an opportunity to grow and explore parts of herself she had not yet met, but the contradictions in the larger system weighed on her spirit, creating a gulf between her growing need for authenticity and the demands of a glittering industry. Over time, the noise grew louder. The hustle, the chaos, the constant need to conform, it began to erode her sense of peace. Barca's friends often pointed out her rebellious nature, observing how she seemed to walk against the tide of the norm. They struggled to understand her cause, this intangible force that made her question what so many others accepted without resistance. But for Barca, the need to disengage from a system that felt hollow was undeniable. She longed for something deeper, a quieter life far removed from the glaring lights of fame. The spiritual unease that had been simmering in the background now began to take precedence. It was as though the outer world, with all its distractions and illusions, no longer held the answers she sought. Something within her ached for stillness, a sense of truth that wasn't clouded by societal pressures.
The glamour, once seen as a stepping stone to freedom, revealed itself to be another kind of confinement. A cage that locked her into roles she no longer wished to play. It was during these moments of questioning that the pull of spirituality entered her life, first as a whisper and then as a steady call she could not ignore.
The restlessness she had carried for years, the same restlessness that had pushed her away from convention and toward independence, now turned inward. Where the world offered noise, she began to crave silence. Where the world thrived on ambition, she began to seek contentment.
The shift was not sudden but gradual, like a river slowly carving its path through stubborn rock. Bombay's bustling energy, the roles and responsibilities that once seemed essential, now felt like echoes from a distant life. The search for something more profound drew her toward places where she could experience peace, spaces untouched by materialism or societal demands.
In her rebellion against a world obsessed with appearances, she began to strip away her own layers of conditioning. Spirituality became a journey of shedding, of simplifying, of seeing life through a lens untainted by illusions. What once felt essential, money, status, recognition, started to feel inconsequential compared to the pursuit of inner peace. Barca's spirit was no longer satisfied by temporary freedoms. It longed for a deeper liberation, one that came from within. As she stepped away from the industry, the path ahead was not always clear. Moving away from a life so rooted in structure and expectation required courage, but Barca had always been one to question, to break away, and to walk paths less traveled. The decision to embrace spirituality was no different. It was perhaps the ultimate act of rebellion, a rejection of society's definition of success and a declaration of her own truth. In this newfound life, simplicity became her companion and silence her teacher. The need to perform, to prove, to meet external benchmarks fell away like leaves from a tree, leaving behind only what was essential. The woman who had once stood before flashing cameras now stood before something far greater, an inner stillness that offered answers no stage or script ever could. This journey was not about refusing to recognize life, but rediscovering its essence. Barca learned to embrace the beauty of being rather than doing, of experiencing life's richness without the need to chase or control. The spiritual path gave her the freedom she had once sought through financial independence, but it was a freedom of a different kind, one that could not be bought, measured, or taken away. Her story is not one of disillusionment, but of awakening. She walked into the world of glamour and emerged with a deeper understanding of herself. The bright lights of the industry may have dimmed, but in their absence, a more profound light began to shine. This light now illuminates the true meaning of peace, freedom, and fulfillment. Barca's life became a quiet reminder that sometimes the most courageous act is to walk away from a life that no longer serves you and to step into one that aligns with your soul's deepest calling. Through every question, every rebellion, and every moment of uncertainty, Barca Madden found what she had been searching for all along: a life rooted in purpose, simplicity, and an undeniable sense of peace. But what no one knew was that Barca's journey started a long time ago. Living a fulfilling life. Barca Madden's journey toward spirituality began long before the world noticed her transformation. On the surface, it may have seemed like an abrupt decision, but beneath that still exterior, something had been brewing since childhood. At the age of 10, during a visit to the Rumtek Monastery in Sikkim, a seed was quietly planted, a seed that would take years to blossom. The vibrant colors of the monastery, the chants that filled the air, and the peaceful energy of the monks had stirred something deep inside her. It was as if a sliver of truth had been revealed, and even as a child, she felt its weight. It wasn't just another place to visit, or another beautiful memory to store away. The experience left a lasting mark. Years passed, and life took her through the maze of worldly success. Fame arrived in abundance with flashing lights, applause, and the adoration that often comes with being an actor. But beneath it all, a quiet unrest still endured. There were questions that refused to be silenced.
While others around her chased goals of wealth, status, and self-gratification, she sensed a deeper purpose to life, one that couldn't be replaced by the temporal pleasures of fame. She would often wonder, what is this pursuit of happiness truly for? Why do we chase things that rarely fill the void inside?
It was the encounter with Buddhist philosophy that began answering these unspoken questions. Teachings of compassion, impermanence, and true freedom resonated with her on a level she couldn't ignore. Moments spent listening to His Holiness the Dalai Lama offered clarity she hadn't thought possible.
The noise of the world, the demands, the pressures, the constant striving began to lose its grip. She realized that money, fame, and admiration were not shields against suffering. Despite having all the trappings of what society calls success, she often found herself feeling incomplete, like something essential was missing.
In the world she inhabited as an actor, there was no shortage of ego. Everything revolved around self. Performances were designed to impress, appearances tailored to be admired. And yet, oddly, actors are tasked with becoming someone else entirely. risking themselves to inhabit another's reality. This realization struck her profoundly. If people spent even a fraction of that time truly stepping into someone else's shoes, not just as a role, but as an act of genuine empathy, then how different might the world be? How much kinder? How much softer? It was this quiet awakening that prepared her unconsciously for what lay ahead. While others might call it a momentary decision, for Barca, it was as though years of internal preparation had simply reached their highest point. The seemingly overnight decision to take ordination was only the visible tip of something vast and deep. When she shaved her head and donned the maroon robes of a Buddhist nun, the external world saw a striking change. But for her, it was the natural next step. Life as a nun came with its own lessons, not all of which were philosophical.
Curiosity followed her wherever she went, because an actress turned nun was not something people witnessed every day. Walking through streets, she often found herself under the gaze of strangers. Some stares were brief, others lingered with questions unasked. The change was plain. Once, as a celebrity, she had been no stranger to attention.
Although back then she had hidden behind dark sunglasses, guarded against the weight of those curious eyes, now she faced them directly, and more importantly, she faced them with a smile. There was no longer discomfort or resistance, only acceptance of her path and of the people still making sense of it. A recent incident during a visit to the United States captured the beauty of these encounters. At a grocery store, a young boy bumped his cart into her accidentally. His mother, flustered, quickly admonished him, gently scolding that this was no way to behave around someone going through cancer. Barca smiled at the assumption, unbothered. The bald head, of course, had caused the misunderstanding. Where once she might have corrected such a moment or turned away, now she found joy in it. A brief connection with strangers, a reminder of the perceptions that shape us all. She smiled, breaking the tension, dissolving whatever awkwardness the boy's mother might have felt. Moments like these were not trivial. They were experiences that enriched her perspective. For years, she had been part of a culture that prized appearances, where looking at others and being looked at carried unspoken rules. Now those boundaries no longer held power. Where the gaze of strangers had once felt intrusive, it now felt like an opportunity, a chance to connect, even for a short moment. With every stare met by a warm, open expression, she offered a small lesson. That connection lies not in avoiding discomfort, but in facing it with compassion. The spiritual journey is rarely smooth, and Barca's path was no exception. There were challenges, doubts that whispered in quieter moments, and the undeniable contrast between the world she left behind and the one she had embraced. But the teachings that had drawn her to this life continued to sustain her. The Buddhist understanding of impermanence, that all things change, helped her shed attachments she once held dear. The relentless pursuit of more success, more validation, more comfort, now seemed hollow compared to the richness of inner peace. She reflected on ego as a sly architect. It builds towers of self-importance, convincing us that everything must revolve around our desires, our achievements, our needs. In the process of chasing these illusions, we lose touch with our truest selves.
Barca had been no stranger to that pursuit. She had lived it fully, achieving what many only dream of. But it wasn't until she began to dismantle that ego, to let go of the incessant I, me, mine, that she discovered something extraordinary. She discovered a freedom unlike any she had known.
This newfound clarity allowed her to live differently. The world had not changed, but her experience of it had. She no longer sought validation from external sources. Instead, she found joy in the simplest moments, in kindness, in connection, in silence. There was no longer a need to impress, no longing to be seen or applauded. In sharing her journey, she illuminated a path for others, a reminder that truth isn't found in fame or fortune, nor in the roles society assigns us. It lies in stripping away what is false, in seeking what is real, and in understanding that true happiness comes not from cherishing oneself, but from cherishing others.
If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.